Hey guys, tonight we strap on imaginary sandals and join a caravan hauling literal tons of salt across the Sahara. Fair warning, if this were real, you might not last a day. But hey, that's why you've got me your slightly sarcastic, historically inclined guardian angel. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Seriously. Drop a comment below telling me where you're tuning in from and what time it is. I love imagining you all curled up from Tokyo to Toronto. Now, find your most comfortable position, take a deep breath in, and slowly let it out, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Dust hangs thick in the air of Timbuktu, golden and choking, catching the low sun like suspended glitter. The scent hits you first-dried fish, camel dung, wood smoke, baking bread, and something sharp and ancient, the smell of sweat, ambition, and impending dehydration. Welcome to the 14th century. Give or take a few decades. Historians love to bicker over the exact peak of the salt trade, but we're rolling with it. This isn't the mythical end of the earth Timbuktu. This is the real pulsing heart of it, the Oxford, Wall Street, and Grand Central Station of medieval West Africa, all baked into sun-baked mud bricks. Scholars argue astronomy over manuscripts traded for gold. Merchants haggle in a dozen languages, and somewhere, a king is probably getting very rich. And you? You just signed your life away as a caravan guard. Hungry, landless, and maybe a bit desperate. You took the job. Protect the salt. Don't die. Simple. Your new office stretches before you. A seemingly endless line of 200 groaning, spitting, magnificently grumpy camels. Each beast is being burdened with massive, rough-hewn slabs of salt cut from the distant, hellish mines of Tagaza. Workers strain, lashing the heavy blocks, each weighing as much as a small person, onto wooden saddles called kerbash with ropes of tough camel hide. The air vibrates with the symphony of creaking wood, snapping leather, and the disgruntled roars of unhappy dromedaries. Why all this fuss over salt? Because south of this furnace, in the lush forests where kingdoms like Mali mined gold by the basketful, salt was scarcer than hen's teeth. It preserved food, replaced vital minerals lost in sweat, and was literally worth its weight in gold. Your caravan isn't just moving cargo. It's a slow-motion, high-stakes bank transfer on legs. You adjust your awkwardly tied turban, feeling the unfamiliar weight of a borrowed dagger at your hip. Around you, the veteran guards move with a silent, leathery efficiency that speaks of decades spent not dying in the sand. Their glances slide over you, assessing, their eyes saying plainly, "Hope you can run fast, Greenhorn, or pray faster." The caravan master, Musa al-Kanemi, stalks the line, his voice a whip crack over the din. He checks every knot, every slab, every camel's load with obsessive precision. One shifting slab mid-journey could cripple a beast and doom them all. Efficiency here isn't just about profit. It's the thin line between life and a bleached skeleton decorating the dunes. A wizened guard, with eyes permanently narrowed from squinting at horizons, sidles up beside you. He spits a stream of brown liquid into the dust near your boot. "See that one?" He jerks a gnarled thumb towards a camel, chewing with regal disdain. "Pure Mari blood, worth 10 of those mongrels down the line." He leans closer, his breath smelling faintly of dates and old leather. "Know how you spot a true desert camel, boy?" Lick its neck. You stare, incredulous. He grins, revealing gaps where teeth lost their own battles long ago. "Salty taste? Good. Means it sweats less. Wastes less water. Smart beast. Try it tomorrow. Trust an old sand rat." You make a fervent mental note. Avoid camel. Licking at all costs. But the bizarre point sinks in. Every detail, every beast in this caravan is honed by brutal necessity for survival in a land that devours the unprepared. As the lowering sun paints the sky in bruised purples and fiery oranges, your gaze drifts towards the imposing silhouette of the Sankore Mosque, its earthen minaret a finger pointing defiantly at the heavens. Timbuktu thrums with more than commerce. It's a hive of learning, where scholars debate the stars and scribes copy precious texts traded alongside salt and gold. Yet, historians still squabble like scholars over manuscripts. Was Timbuktu truly a medieval African Ivy League, attracting thousands? Or was its legendary scholarly fame burnished brighter by later chroniclers, its reality more intimate? Standing here, feeling the chaotic pulse of donkey carts, chanting students, and the clink of gold being weighed, the scale feels immense. It feels like the very edge of your known world, and the terrifying threshold of the unknown. Musa gives a final sharp nod. The camels, transformed into mobile salt-caked cliffs, rise with a chorus of groans and popping joints that echoes off the mud-brick walls. The lead camel unleashes a deep, resonant bellow that seems to vibrate the dust itself. Time's up. You fall into step beside your assigned, grumbling beast, the gritty sand already finding its way into your boots. A persistent, unwelcome guest. The massive city gates loom ahead, framing the vista beyond, an endless, tawny emptiness that stretches to the curve of the earth. The Sahara. Your home for the next 40 days and nights. It gazes back, utterly indifferent to your fears, Timbuktu's glory, or the value of the salt you guard. It only knows how to swallow the weak. You tighten your grip on the rough wood of your spear shaft, the reality biting deeper than the encroaching chill. The desert wind whispers past your ears, carrying promises of thirst, scorpions, and horizons that mock the very idea of an end. You steal one last glance at the fading glow on the Sankore minaret, civilization's final, flickering ember. The rhythmic sway of the camel beneath you begins, a slow, hypnotic rocking motion. Left, right, left, right. The cacophony of the city shrinks, replaced by the crunch of sand under countless hooves and pads, the soft jingle of harness bells, and the immense, humming silence of the desert pressing in. Each plodding step takes you deeper into the furnace, further from the safety of wells, closer to the bone-white mines of Tagaza. You focus on the sway. Left, right, left, right. The stars emerge, cold pinpricks in the darkening velvet sky. The air chills with shocking speed, making you shiver and pull your thin cloak tighter. The grizzled guard walking nearby grunts. Get used to the bite, Zerga. The desert feasts hot and cold. The camels plod on, relentless. The dunes rise around you like slumbering giants under the indifferent moon. Your adventure, and your desperate fight to survive it, has truly, irrevocably begun. The rhythmic sway of your camel, once a novelty, has become your entire world. Left, right, left, right. Timbuktu vanished days ago, swallowed by the shimmering heat haze behind you like a dream dissolving. Now, only the dunes remain. Endless sculpted waves of sand, the color of lion pelts and dried blood, rising and falling beneath a sky so vast and pitilessly blue it feels like a physical weight. The sun isn't just hot. It's a hammer on an anvil, beating the air into a thick, wavering soup. You can taste the dryness, gritty on your tongue, sucking the moisture from your lungs with every breath. Your lips are already cracking, a painful reminder of the precious water rationed in goatskin bags slung over pack camels. One mouthful at dawn, one at dusk. Discipline is water. Discipline is life. Mainstream history nugget. This route you're on? It's one thread in a vast ancient web, the trans-Saharan trade routes. Think of them as the medieval superhighways, connecting the Mediterranean world to sub-Saharan Africa for over 1,000 years. Gold, ivory, slaves, and coveted European goods flowed south. Salt, leather, cola nuts, and yes, more slaves flowed north. Your little salt caravan is a tiny, vital artery in this colossal circulatory system of commerce and culture. Empires like Ghana and Mali rose to power controlling these very paths. You're walking on history, even if it feels like walking through an oven. The sheer, mind-numbing scale of the desert begins to crush you. Hours bleed into days, marked only by the sun's brutal arc and the nightly emergence of stars, so numerous and bright they seem to press down. Silence isn't silent. It's the constant sigh of wind over sand, the crunch of countless hooves, the labored breathing of camels, the creak of leather. Conversation is sparse, energy hoarded like water. The veterans move with an economy of motion that speaks of deep exhaustion and deeper experience. Their eyes constantly scan the horizon, not just for landmarks, but for the subtle shifts in light and shadow that betray the desert's moods. One evening, as the fierce heat bleeds rapidly into a bone-chilling cold that makes you shiver despite your layers, Hassan, the wizened guard from Timbuktu, sidles up. He points a calloused finger towards a ripple pattern on a distant dune slope, barely visible in the twilight. "See that?" he rasps, his voice like sandpaper. "The sand speaks, Zerga. It tells stories to those who listen." He traces the air, mimicking the wave-like lines. "That pattern? Wind from the northeast, steady for 2 days past, means the big dunes ahead will be soft, like walking through flour, hard going for the beasts." He spits. "But see here," he gestures to a sharper, cross-hatched section lower down. "Sudden gusts, like a scorpion's sting. Came last night. Means instability." Air is arguing with itself. He taps his temple. The desert doesn't hide its anger. It writes it on the sand. Learn to read it, or it buries you. You stare at the seemingly random patterns, suddenly seeing a complex, shifting language written in grains. Navigation here isn't just about stars. It's about reading the desert's skin. The obscure, and slightly gross, survival tactic. Water is life, but what happens when the goatskins feel terrifyingly light? Hassan catches you eyeing the dwindling supply with undisguised dread one scorching noon. He grunts, a sound almost lost in the wind. "Stop looking like a lost puppy," he mutters. He nods towards a camel, urinating a dark, pungent stream onto the sand, where it vanishes almost instantly. When the thirst bites deep and the water skins sing empty, you drink that. You recoil instinctively. He chuckles, a dry, rattling sound. "Not straight, fool. Filter it. Pour it through sand, cloth, let it settle. Takes the worst edge off. Tastes like hell warmed over, but it'll keep your tongue from sticking to the roof of your mouth." He fixes you with a stare. Your thirst laughs at your disgust, boy. Remember that when the choice comes. The thought is revolting, yet the sheer, pragmatic horror of it etches itself into your mind. A last resort testament to the desert's brutal calculus. The days blur. The heat is a physical assault. Your skin burns under the turban cloth. Sand grates in every crevice of your clothing, and the rationed water becomes an obsession. Then, the cold nights steal your breath, making your muscles ache. You learn to move like the veterans, slow, deliberate, conserving every scrap of energy. You learn the camel's moods, the warning signs of exhaustion or rebellion. You learn the terrifying speed with which a clear sky can turn menacing. One afternoon, the horizon vanishes. Not into haze, but into a monstrous, advancing wall of churning, ochre-brown cloud. The air crackles with static, and the wind, which had been a constant whisper, suddenly roars like a wounded beast, hurling stinging sand horizontally. "Haboob!" Musa's shout is ripped away by the gale, but his actions are clear. He drives the lead camel down the leeward side of the tallest dune nearby, gesturing frantically for the others to follow. Panic is a luxury you cannot afford. You scramble with the others, wrestling your terrified camel down the slope. The veterans move with desperate speed, forming a tight huddle with the camels kneeling, facing inward, creating a living, groaning wall against the storm's fury. You throw yourself down beside Hassan, pulling your cloak over your head, burying your face in the coarse hair of a camel's flank. The world disappears into a howling, sand-blasting darkness. It feels like being buried alive in a torrent of needles. You can't see anything. The promise of Taudeni isn't water. It's the idea of water. A name chanted like a prayer against the endless beige and ochre. A fragile hope that keeps your cracked lips moving even when your throat feels lined with sandpaper. Days bleed into a monotonous torture of heat, glare, and the soul-crushing sameness of the dunes. Your world shrinks to the sway of the camel, the grit in your teeth, the weight of your spear, and the shrinking bulge of your personal water skin. Discipline is the only god here. Discipline to ration the tepid, leather-tasting water. Discipline to ignore the blisters screaming on your feet. Discipline to keep scanning the shimmering horizons, not just for phantom raiders, but for the subtle signs Hassan taught you. The faint shift in sand patterns hinting at distant wells. Then, one searing afternoon, the air changes. It's subtle at first, a faint, almost hallucinatory coolness beneath the relentless sun. Then, a scent. Not the dry, mineral smell of sand, but something green, something damp and alive. A murmur ripples through the caravan, a collective intake of breath. The camels sense it too. Their pace quickens imperceptibly, their groans shifting from exhaustion to a low, eager rumble. You crest a vast, rolling dune, and there it is, nestled in a depression like an emerald thrown onto a sheet of rusted iron. Taudeni. It's not paradise. It's a harsh cluster of low, mud-brick buildings, clinging stubbornly to life around a series of deep, murky wells. Date palms, looking impossibly green and lush after weeks of nothing but sand and rock, cast precious pools of shade. The smell is overwhelming. Damp earth, animal dung, human sweat, and the sweet, cloying scent of dates. After the sterile silence of the desert, the noise is a physical assault. The shouts of water sellers, the braying of donkeys, the chatter of traders in half a dozen languages, the rhythmic groan of ropes hauling water from unimaginable depths. Relief washes over you, so potent it makes your knees weak. Water. Mainstream history nugget. Forget quiet desert rest stops. Places like Taudeni were vital, pulsing nerve centers. This isn't just a pit stop. It's a crucial node on the trans-Saharan network. News travels faster than caravans here. Gossip about market prices down south, political upheavals in the north, bandit activity on specific routes. It all flows with the water. Caravans exchange information, barter spare supplies, and hire or lose guards. Slaves captured deeper in the desert, or brought from the south, are traded. Your precious salt slabs might be partially traded here for dates, cloth, or information about conditions ahead. Taudeni is a microcosm of the trade itself, harsh, opportunistic, and absolutely essential. You stumble towards the nearest well, your thirst a raging beast. But getting water isn't simple. There's a queue, weary guards, sharp-eyed traders, locals with their own claims. Wells are owned, guarded, taxed. Musa negotiates fiercely with a local well master, coins changing hands. Finally, the precious, brackish water is hauled up in leather buckets. You're handed a small gourd. The first sip is shockingly cold, tasting strongly of minerals and earth. It's the most delicious thing you've ever tasted. You drink slowly, savoring it, letting the liquid seep into your parched tissues, feeling life trickle back. You pour some over your head, gasping at the cold shock, washing away layers of grime and salt. The simple act feels like a rebirth. The obscure oasis peril, beyond thirst. Sitting in the shade of a date palm, reveling in the simple luxury of not moving, you watch Hassan expertly inspect a pile of dates offered by a local seller. He picks one up, sniffs it, squeezes it gently, then shakes his head firmly. The seller protests, but Hassan walks away, pulling you with him. "Sweet thieves," he mutters, his voice low. He points subtly to another vendor, this one with dates that look slightly less plump. "See those? Good. The fat, shiny ones?" He makes a disgusted face. "Stolen sweetness. They cut the palm's heart, the growing tip, to make the dates ripen faster, sweeter. Kills the tree, dead in a year or two." He spits. "Short-sighted fools. A good date palm lives 100 years, feeds generations. Stealing sweetness steals the future. Never buy from a heart cutter." It's a lesson in Oasis ethics you hadn't expected. Sustainability written in the lifeblood of a palm tree. But Taudeni's relief is laced with tension. The air buzzes not just with trade, but with watchfulness. Musa pays a different kind of tax. Coins discreetly handed to a group of lean, blue-veiled men lounging near the largest well, Tuareg. Their indigo tagelmusts cover all but their eyes, sharp and assessing. They are the undisputed lords of this stretch of desert. Their presence is a reminder. The oasis offers respite, not sanctuary. You see other caravans, some arriving, some departing, all bearing the marks of their journeys, sun-bleached cloth, weary faces, camels with ribs showing. Guards swap stories in low tones. News of a caravan attacked 10 days west, another lost to a sandstorm near a place called Arawan. The dangers outside the mud walls feel suddenly closer. The unseen trade, and the haunting controversy. Near the edge of the settlement, away from the main wells and date groves, a different kind of market operates. Musa leads a small group, including you carrying a small salt slab, towards a cluster of low, dark tents. The atmosphere here is subdued, grim. People sit or stand in silence. Men, women, children, their eyes downcast or wide with fear. Chains glint dully in the shade. Your stomach clenches. Slaves. Musa trades the salt slab for several large sacks of dates and a coil of sturdy rope. He barely glances at the people. As you turn to leave, burdened by the dates, your eyes meet those of a young boy, perhaps 10 years old. His eyes aren't fearful. They're empty, hollowed out. A brand, raw and fresh, marks his shoulder. Hassan's hand grips your arm, steering you firmly away. "Don't look, Zerga," he hisses. That look invites trouble you don't want. The scale of the trans-Saharan slave trade is a historical wound still being probed. While extensive records detail gold and salt, the human toll is murkier. Historians fiercely debate. Were slaves a constant, significant cargo on most large caravans, or a more sporadic, opportunistic trade driven by specific markets or wars? The evidence is fragmented, often silent. Standing there, smelling the dust and despair, seeing that branded boy, the academic debate feels achingly distant. The human cost is horrifyingly present. Taudeni's water suddenly tastes bitter. Your brief respite ends too soon. Musa barks orders. The camels, somewhat rested and watered, are reloaded. The precious water skins are replenished, bulging heavily. The salt slabs, having endured the journey so far, are checked and secured. The air of the oasis, thick with relief and unease, begins to recede. You pass the slave tents again on the way out. They are empty now. The boy is gone. The image of his empty eyes lingers, a chilling counterpoint to the green palms. As you mount your camel at the edge of the settlement, preparing to plunge back into the furnace, you glance back. Taudeni already looks like a mirage, a fragile dream of green shrinking against the encroaching tan. Ahead lies the final, most brutal leg. Tagaza, the salt mines. Not a destination of rest, but of toil. The oasis wasn't an end. It was merely a pause, a gulp of air before diving deeper into the abyss. The desert waits, vast and indifferent, ready to reclaim you. The rhythmic sway of the camel resumes, a familiar, almost comforting cadence after the chaotic hum of the oasis. Left, right, left, right. The green fades rapidly, replaced once more by the infinite rolling dunes under a sky bleached white by the noon sun. The memory of cool water on your skin is already fading, replaced by the familiar prickling heat. The image of the boy's branded shoulder flickers in your mind, a dark stain on the memory of Taudeni's shade. You tighten your grip on the reins, the rough leather a grounding reality. The air shimmers with heat waves, distorting the horizon ahead. Somewhere beyond that wavering line lies Tagaza, a place where the earth itself is made of salt, and men toil under a pitiless sun to carve out wealth. The final test approaches. The camel plods on. The desert breathes its hot, dry breath down your neck. The air changes long before you see Tagaza. The scent of water, of life, of dates vanishes, replaced by something harsh, mineral, and utterly alien. It's the smell of desolation distilled. The dunes give way to a vast, flat, blindingly white plain that stretches to the horizon like a frozen, toxic sea. The sun, already brutal, reflects off this expanse with a glare that sears your eyes even through the narrow slit of your lithum. Face veil. This isn't sand. It's salt. Crusts of it crack under your camel's feet. The air itself tastes acrid, metallic. Welcome to the end of the line. Welcome to hell made of seasoning. Mainstream history nugget. Forget picturesque mine shafts. Tagaza was industrial-scale extraction in one of Earth's most hostile environments. Miners here didn't tunnel. They quarried. They hacked enormous rectangular slabs, the very slabs you hauled from Timbuktu, directly from the crust of massive, ancient salt flats formed by evaporated prehistoric seas. This white gold wasn't just valuable, it was foundational. Its trade-financed empires like Mali, making rulers like Mansa Musa legendary for their wealth. The salt from this blinding wasteland literally built cities and funded scholarship hundreds of miles away. Standing here, breathing this corrosive air, the sheer, brutal economics of it hits you like a physical blow. The sight that greets you is less a town, more a scab on the face of the desert. Low, crumbling huts built of salt bricks huddled together. Figures move slowly, laboriously across the dazzling white expanse. As you get closer, the sounds reach you. The rhythmic, punishing thunk, thunk, thunk of stone picks striking salt, the groan of men straining, the occasional, hacking cough that echoes unnervingly in the still, hot air. There are no lush date palms here, no bustling markets. Only the salt, the sun, and the suffering required to wrest the former from the latter. Unloading the camels feels like a grim parody of Timbuktu. Instead of precious goods arriving, the salt slabs you guarded so fiercely are simply returned, stacked with others awaiting transport back south. Your job as guard isn't over, but its focus shifts. Now, you stand watch over the exchange. The trade goods brought from Timbuktu and Taudeni. Cloth, grain, tools, perhaps a few weary slaves, being handed over to the mine overseers. In return, fresh, blindingly white salt slabs are loaded onto your camels for the return journey. The value is staggering. A single large slab here might fetch its weight in gold further south. You watch Musa negotiate, his usual sharpness tempered by exhaustion and the oppressive atmosphere. The miners watch the exchange with hollow eyes, their bodies coated in a fine white powder, their movements slow and pained. The obscure horror of salt. Hassan finds you staring at a miner collapsing in the shade of a salt brick wall, coughing violently, white dust puffing from his lips with each spasm. The veteran guard's face is grim. "The salt eats them. Zerga," he says, his voice low and rough. "Not just the work, the air." He gestures vaguely at the shimmering haze. "Breathe this dust day after day, year after year. It sears the lungs, turns them to stone. They drown on dry land." He picks up a small, jagged piece of salt knocked loose from a slab. It's unnaturally sharp, almost crystalline. See this edge? Wind polishes it, like a blade. The desert makes even its treasure into a weapon against those who dig it up. He tosses the shard aside. It's a brutal truth. The source of immense wealth is also a slow, agonizing death sentence for those condemned to work it. The luxury of seasoned food far away is paid for in breaths of corrosive dust here. Who works here? The unsettled debate. The miners are a mix. Some look local, adapted to the horror, their faces etched with premature age and resignation. Others look different, leaner, perhaps from further south, their eyes holding a deeper well of despair. Historians still grapple fiercely with the demographics of hell. Were the miners mostly local tribes, like the often enslaved Haritan, enduring a hereditary burden? Or were they primarily captives, prisoners of war, or slaves acquired specifically for this lethal toil, worked until the salt dust claimed them? Evidence is fragmentary and grim. Accounts mention forced labor, high mortality, but specifics blur. Seeing the hollow-cheeked faces, the branded shoulders on some, the sheer grinding hopelessness, the academic distinction feels obscene. Tagaza consumes lives, regardless of origin. The controversy rages in lecture halls. Here, the only certainty is suffering. The days at Tagaza are a blur of oppressive heat, blinding light, and the relentless sound of extraction. Guard duty feels surreal. You're not protecting against raiders here, but against despair, against theft of meager supplies, against the environment itself. You witness a brief, brutal punishment. A miner caught trying to steal a small water skin flogged with a strip of camel hide. The crack of the lash echoes across the salt pan. Justice here is swift, harsh, and utterly devoid of mercy. It underscores the brutal hierarchy. Overseers, guards, then miners. Your status as a guard, lowly as it felt in Timbuktu, now feels like a gilded privilege. You drink your rationed water with a new layer of guilt. Finally, the camels are loaded. The fresh salt slabs, gleaming cruelly white, are secured. The caravan forms up. Turning your back on Tagaza feels less like leaving and more like escaping. The miners don't look up as you depart. Their world is the white plain, the thunk, 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 the taste of salt and death. You spur your camel forward, eager to put the blinding whiteness behind you, eager for the relative mercy of the open dunes. You are no longer the Zerga. The desert has etched its lessons onto your skin, your spirit. You scan horizons automatically now, read the sand's language instinctively, ration water without thought. The return journey begins. The Sahara still stretches vast and deadly, but you move through it with a hard-won confidence. You are a Saharan guard. The journey back is a mirror image, yet profoundly different. You know the rhythm of thirst, the bite of cold, the terror of a rising sand wall. You navigate the landmarks Hassan pointed out weeks ago with a sense of ownership. Taudeni, when you reach it again, feels less like a shock and more like a grimly familiar checkpoint. You refill the water skins, trade sparingly, avoid the slave tents. The veterans, including Hassan, treat you with a new gruff respect. There are no words, just a nod, a shared water skin offered without prompting, a place near the fire at night. You belong. The unexpected souvenir. On the last night before Timbuktu's distant glow appears on the horizon, Hassan sits beside you by the fire. He doesn't speak for a long time, just stares into the flames. Then, he pulls something from his robe, a long, thin shard of Tagaza salt, naturally wind-polished to a razor edge, almost like a crude dagger. He hands it to you. Proof, Rijal, man, he says, using the title for the first time. Proof you walked through the belly of the white beast and came out the other side. Keep it. Remember the price. It's cold and surprisingly heavy in your hand, its edge wickedly sharp. A fragment of hell. A badge of survival. You slip it into your pack silently. A tangible piece of the journey's brutal truth. Then, one morning, you see it. A smudge on the horizon that isn't sand. Mud brick walls. The distant glint of a minaret catching the dawn sun. Timbuktu. A sound escapes you, something between a gasp and a sob. The city you left as a desperate novice now represents sanctuary, civilization, water that doesn't taste of dust. The camels, sensing home and rest, pick up their pace. The journey that stretched your limits, that showed you the best and worst of survival, that branded you with the desert's mark, is ending. You survived the furnace. You brought the salt. You are coming home. The rhythmic sway of the camel slows as the city gates grow larger. The sounds of the desert, the wind, the crunch of sand, begin to blend with the distant hum of the city awakening. The immense, star-strewn sky that was your only canopy for weeks now feels like it's gently releasing you back into the world of walls and wells and voices. You feel the weight of the salt blade in your pack, a cool, hard secret against your back. The air, thick with the familiar sense of Timbuktu, feels impossibly rich and humid after the desert's aridity. You straighten your shoulders, your gaze steady, scanning the approaching crowd not with the wide-eyed wonder of before, but with the calm watchfulness of a man who knows the cost of the treasures they carry. The desert hasn't left you. It's inside you now. The gates of Timbuktu close behind you, muffling the desert's vast silence like a heavy curtain falling. The familiar clamor of the city, donkey carts, market shouts, the distant call to prayer, washes over you, a warm, living tide after the desert's stark emptiness. You dismount, your legs stiff but steady, the ground feeling strangely solid and kind beneath your sandaled feet. The camel is led away, groaning softly, its monumental task complete. You stand for a moment in the dusty courtyard, breathing air thick with humanity, spices, and smoke. The blinding white of Tagaza, the howling fury of the Haboob, the hollow eyes of the miners, they feel like fragments of a powerful, exhausting dream already beginning to soften at the edges. The weight of the salt blade in your pack is a grounding presence, a whisper from the wilderness you carry back into the world of walls. You find a quiet corner in the shade of a mud brick wall, leaning back, feeling the exhaustion seep deep into your bones, not the frantic exhaustion of fear, but the profound, satisfying weariness of a journey completed, a test endured. Around you, life pulses on, blissfully unaware of the furnace you crossed, the price paid for the salt seasoning their food. The setting sun paints the Sankore minaret in familiar gold, no longer just a symbol of learning, but a beacon welcoming you home. You close your eyes, not to sleep yet, but to simply be. The desert wind is just a memory now, a sigh against your cheek, replaced by the warm breath of the city. The stars, when they emerge, are the same cold, distant fires that watched over your journey, but here, sheltered by walls and the murmur of life, they feel softer, gentler, like scattered diamonds on a velvet cloth above a safe haven. The rhythmic sway of the camel is gone, replaced by the slow, steady beat of your own heart, calm and strong within your chest. You are back. You are whole. You are home. Let the sounds of Timbuktu, the feeling of solid earth, the gentle press of fatigue lull you now. The desert's tale is told. Rest.